the next team I wanted to talk about was the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this team looks like the best in the league right now.
Yeah, man.
They put on 140 plus points yesterday. They got torched on defense, but it didn't matter because they were putting on points. They were shooting 62% from three, and it's not like they took 10 threes. They took 29 threes, and they scored 18 of them. Danny Green, Seth Curry. I don't know what to say about Seth Curry. I think it runs in the family.
It's just that last name.
He was just hitting threes, and if you had to pick an MVP contender right now, I think Embiid would be one of the favorites because he's getting big numbers every game. Ben Simmons, I don't know why he's so underrated in Philadelphia, but he's putting out 10, 12, double, almost a triple double every game. Tobias Harris won the Eastern Conference Player of the Week in week 2. That team looks like a formidable unit. What could go wrong with Philly right now?
Injuries. It's what always goes wrong with Philly. It was never a personnel problem. It was always injuries. And this isn't even a team that load manages too much. Like Embiid's a bit fragile from time to time, so he kind of tends to sit out away games, stuff like that. But it really, fitness is their biggest concern. But I like how things are taking shape there, right? I think the org as a whole has evolved from this whole tank, and the process to now last season having a decent squad with some dead weight seemingly in Tobias Harris's contract and Al Horford, to now getting what I think is one of the best GMs in the league from Houston. That's a huge step in the right direction. Well, not GM. I think he's president of whatever the designation is, but he's running their front office, right? And that was a big move for them. Now, then they have Doc Rivers coaching the team. Huge step up from Brett Brown. A lot of the problems last season I thought were coaching. Yes, Horford isn't that guy anymore. Yes, Tobias Harris is overpaid, but you can still get them to fit into your system. It's like you can tell me in the first 10 games you're surprised that Al Horford isn't the guy that he was. For the next 50 games, are you still surprised? You've seen it. I mean, can you maybe make some adjustments? So it looked like even all the way till the playoffs, you were surprised every game that Al Horford isn't that guy anymore. Like, that doesn't work. So all of this sets up to what? Everything else is in place. Now you need the players to come and perform. Do you have the right players? Yeah. It was a good squad to begin with. And then they miraculously found a way to offload Al Horford. So that contract's off their chest. Did they upgrade? Hell yeah. They got Dwight Howard, first of all. Huge addition. Championship caliber now. He's got that ring. A great backup to Joel Embiid. A defensive monster, great off of rebounds. Not quite the offensive force that he was. But he's coming off the bench here. You can't complain. Then they added a Curry. They added S Curry. Let's just any S Curry can shoot. You could bring Sidel Curry on and she'll shoot 50% easy from 3. Right? That was a huge addition, and we'll tie back to why. So they added Seth Curry, and then they added Danny Green, and Shake Milton continues to grow as a shooter. So that gives you straight away 3 spacing options, and this is without Korkmaz still coming in, who I think is a pretty good shooter. He's not doesn't offer very much more than that, but he's a pretty good shooter. And then Tobias Harris suddenly seems to have found a way to justify his contract. Because he's really, for me, he's been the X factor in Philly. I know Embiid's playing like an MVP. I know Ben Simmons has been a monster both ends of the court. But the X factor really is Tobias Harris. Because when he plays at that level, this is now like a triple superstar team, Philadelphia. It's hard to contend with these guys. And then with shooters like that, wow. We're also seeing the evolution of Embiid into some sort of a point center. I know he doesn't quite have the assist tally that Jokic has, but if you watch Philadelphia play, the number of plays where the ball comes to Embiid, and just because of the sheer respect he commands from the defense, he's able to then spray the ball around and find a Ben Simmons slashing to the rim or an S Curry. We're going to call him. We're not going to say Seth Curry this season at all. Just so he has S Curry on the perimeter. Danny Green suddenly seems to have found his shooting touch. Everyone's coming good. So far, it's almost too good to be true for Philadelphia. Because we've seen Danny Green choke up last season. Could happen again. Tobias Harris, I don't know how he is at this purple patch. Let's hope it sustains.
Mm-hmm.
Seth Curry is always going to shoot like that. I don't think there's any surprises there. But all of this spacing, all of these three options that they have, kind of makes up for the fact that Ben Simmons can't take threes, although he's hit one this season. And it's giving so much dynamism to this Philadelphia offense, and trust somebody like a Doc Rivers to make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. Just fingers crossed on fitness. Let's hope these guys stay fit, because every year we start the season saying Philly is going to go to the Eastern Finals at the very least, and then we'll see. For
Yeah.
once, I'd actually like to see a fully fit Philadelphia get back there. It really
Mm-hmm.
took one of the flukiest shots in the history of basketball to knock them out once. I want to see them come back and really contend.
Right. We've always said that the East is now open, right? We have
Yeah.
a bunch of teams who have strengthened, who are strong. Like the Milwaukee Bucks are there, Brooklyn Nets are there, Boston Celtics are there, Miami Heat are there. Do you think with this run of games, has Philadelphia distanced themselves from the rest? I think all the teams are still finding their feet. They have 4-3, 4-4, 5-2 records, but
Yeah.
Philadelphia have just gone and blitzed themselves to the top of the table to 7-1 lead. Do you think amongst these teams, Philadelphia are still the favorites?
At this
Like,
point, it'll be
mhm,
it'll be hard to disagree. Again, assuming fitness is their friend, it'll be really hard to disagree. First of all, in the East, there's a lot of teams that are expected to come good or are playing at a certain level, and we want that to continue. But a lot of these teams, it's not like they had this stable core for a while.
yeah.
Like Brooklyn, that's a first time thing. They're still now figuring out uh, how do you load manage, how do you integrate these two injury returned superstars, and they've had a few struggles, and then disaster struck with Dinwiddie getting injured. That's Brooklyn. Then you have the Miami Heat, struggling with a lot of players coming in and out, struggling with Dragic now moved to the bench, who really takes over that offense. Butler's been in and out, but they seem to be finding their feet now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's some changes there, and they need to work on ensuring they get back. Wizards, Hornets, Raptors all had major additions or subtractions, and they'll have to figure it out. Detroit Pistons were never in the reckoning. I don't think they'll ever be this season, at least. Knicks are well, Knicks, right? Hawks look good, but again, a lot of additions, a lot of integrations to take care of. So that's not really a stable core. Cleveland, well, so then, and if you assume that Orlando Magic might make it to the playoffs, but let's say bottom half of the playoff
Mm-hmm.
rankings in the East.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking then at the 76ers, who've had a stable core for a while now, and they've added some good shooters. It's always easy to integrate a sniper sort of shooter than it is
Mm-hmm.
to integrate a playmaker or a pivotal big,
True.
stuff like that, right? So
True.
Philly had that, and their core is back.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, surprisingly, is another one of these stable teams that, though they've had instability in a sense, in the way that Miles Turner and Oladipo came in and out of injuries, but this isn't really a new squad by any stretch. So when you
Yep.
factor
Yep.
in Sabonis, Brogdon, Oladipo, Miles Turner,
That's pretty much their
yeah,
starting five from last year. Yes.
correct, exactly. So they've been. It's not surprising that they're doing well. Boston Celtics, again, strong core. Kemba is yet to come back. So all of the teams that really had a set core
Mm-hmm.
are not very surprisingly doing pretty well. So you'll see the East sort of settle down. You'll see some of this sedimentation, the noise is going to go down. Some of this
Mm-hmm.
pollution will settle down, like the Knicks that are where they shouldn't ever be. And once all of this sediment settles at the floor of the Eastern Conference, I think the top five is largely going to be predictable. So far, so good for Philadelphia. They really do look like the kings of the East.
Yeah, I think with Philadelphia, I think we yet to see them play the bigs of the East,
Yeah,
right? Or bigs of the league. In fact, they once they play the Bucks, I think that they have a game against the Nets
right.
coming up soon. That'll be an interesting thing, and that will kind of set the expectations that we should have for Philadelphia this season, rather than looking at
Yeah.
the first 8 games of the
Yeah,
season.
and for Embiid, I don't think he, just as a
Mm-hmm.
man-to-man matchup, he's not really played the tougher matchups in the league yet. Like he's
Right.
yet to go toe to toe with AD. Giannis, that test hasn't really happened.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
there's, sure, their fixture list has been easy, and so far so good. We've seen what we need to, and the shooters that they have around them, and their performance so far leads me to believe, even when you've got a player that can go toe to toe with
Mm-hmm.
Embiid, there's still enough firepower there. Philly in their latest game against the Wizards had 6 players scoring 15 or higher. That's insane. Some of them
Yeah.
are perimeter shooters and strictly that. 3-and-D guys or sharpshooters. Some of them are scorers in the paint. Some of them are both. So they've got points every which way possible. And when you put up 140 points, that's the only way you can get there, unless you have a backcourt of Steph and Clay. So that gives me a whole lot of confidence. It'll be interesting to see how they fare against tougher opponents, especially better one-to-one matchups for Embiid. But this is a powerhouse.
Yeah, but as a powerhouse, I think we have new Splash Brothers in town. Steph and Green it is though. Sorry, it's not Steph. Seth and Green it is
That's
though.
why I said
So
S Curry. We're only going to stick to S Curry this season.
so that'll be a fun team to
Yeah.
watch. We'll keep our eyes closely on Philly and how they do this season. I think their upcoming game against Nets is one I'll be looking at very closely.
Yeah.
I know KD's not there, but still Nets are Nets. Kyrie seems to get the better out when he's challenged. So